Hello, everyone. Let me see. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. I am still very congested, so sorry if you're hearing um the congestion. I cannot shake this off. So um I'm hoping I think it is at that point where I have to get maybe antibiotics or something. um But yeah, so sorry about that. I'm still, oof, yeah, still sick. Um, Here we go. All right, awesome. Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. Just making sure everyone is good to go. All right. Okay, awesome. Hello, 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 everyone. I hope your week is off on a good note. Let me see here. Yes, Gabby. So Gabby has a plant update. Absolutely, Gabby. Hold on. Here we go. Gonna spotlight you. And there we go.
Hi, do you remember this plant with all the crazy, my orchid with all the crazy roots everywhere? And I was like, what's going
Oh,
on? Look at this stem coming out. I'm really excited.
oh my gosh.
And let me tell you, this was a plant that I had gotten at work that was I abandoned during the pandemic, and I was like, oh my God, I have to. And it was literally like dead on its last legs. Anyway, little love and care and some of your guidance, it might come back. It looks like
Oh,
it has come back, but it might bloom. So anyway, I just want to show you my update because I'm very happy about it.
that is so cool. Please keep us updated. Oh
And
my,
I've never like dealt with an orchid before. The last time it was blooming was when I received it as a gift, which was like 3+ years ago, 4 years ago. And then I left it over the pandemic by accident, and then it's been resurrected.
oh my gosh, that is awesome.
So anyway, that's it. I don't want to take more time,
No,
but
no,
just let
no.
you know.
Yes, please. No, that's wonderful. I love it when everyone gives me like those updates. They're like, "Oh yeah, look." And then it's just like a dramatic reveal.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for your help.
Of course. Oh, that's so exciting. Yes, definitely keep us updated.
Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Oh, and George is asking in the chat if you're feeding it. So are you giving it any
I've just been giving it like tiny drips of water every now and then, and I've experimented with different sunlight because I live in a row home in Philly, so I have very strong um southern light, like very strong, and then I have like northern light, which is less. So I've been doing a little back and forth, and I think some of the strong light helped for a while, and now that I took it out, it's been able to like get its act together. So
That's wonderful.
I
Oh,
don't know. It's all experimental, really.
and George is asking if you're using personally tap water or distilled water with your
No,
orchid.
just regular water.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm
Thank you.
excited.
I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. No, that's so cool. Oh yes, everyone. If you all, if anyone has any plant updates, I love to see that. So definitely share away. Um, there's a few things I wanted to show you. So one is over the weekend, didn't have much energy, but I wanted to kind of redo the area back here. So it's hard to see. Hold on, here we go. I had gotten like a runner for the table that has like eucalyptus leaves. There we go. And so I wanted to put that under. So I kind of took everything apart. I cleaned because these are acrylic shelves. So I took everything apart. I cleaned the acrylic shelves. I fixed my grow light finally. And I put everybody in place. You can see a bunch, it's all succulents. I had found this thrifting, this little shelf thing. And I don't know, I like the wood color and I kind of like stuck it there and I put like my tools. If you could see a little cup with like, I have my scissors and my like all bunch of tweezers. They're all plant stuff. But I don't know, I feel like I should paint it white or I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. And then I was watering my air plants last night, so I left them upside down while so they can dry. So there's no excess water. But I was so sad yesterday when I was watering my air plants because I discovered that my big air plant was dying. So I put it aside to show you. So so this one I had noticed, so I had been watering it, but while we were away in Costa Rica, it didn't get water, but I thought it was going to be okay. But I think it was just so cold in here. A lot of our plants just did not fare well during that time. So when I got back from Costa Rica, I noticed that it had some browning on this area. But this area was still green, and you can see it's still green. So I thought it was okay. And then yesterday when I was watering my air plants that are here, because I have air plants that we keep here, we have air plants in our kitchen, and we have air plants in our bedroom. And so it was their turn to get some attention. And as I was watering it, I noticed that the bottom part, one of the sections looked kind of like crispy. So I took it off. And that's when I discovered that the base had rotted out. So you could see right through it. So the poor thing, it's not, so look, it comes apart. So I put it back together because I said, I want to show you what this looks like. So if your tillandsia, so this is a tillandsia, this is an air plant. If it starts, sometimes there are some dead sections. Let me see. This is a good example. This is an ionantha, tillandsia ionantha. So pretty healthy, but sometimes you get these just kind of dead leaves here at the base. And sometimes they'll fall right off. They just get really crispy and they'll fall off, no problem. So that's what I thought was happening with this. So I thought maybe one section, it was like a little piece here, was just kind of crispy. But upon taking that off, that's when I could see that the base was gone. So if you do a little taking apart here, it literally, this is how the leaves are. They kind of envelop one another like a taco. So I figured, let me save this because then I can show everyone tomorrow what this looks like. So it keeps coming out. It keeps coming out. So as you can see, so this is literally how the leaves grow. They envelop one another like this. So it's like one taco, another taco. So very much so how it works. But look at the base. So the whole base died and rotted out, and it's hollow. So the plant is dead, but it's just interesting to kind of take a look at it. There's nothing to save. I don't think, I haven't gone past this point, but I don't think there's anything to save in there. It looks hollow. Yeah, it's all hollow. So here, just to show you. So completely hollow. So the plant itself is dead. It's gone. I'm sad. So I'm definitely gonna pick up another one because I really liked these. This is a local seller who sells them for like $3 to $5, but still, I really liked this guy and it was doing really well. And I just noticed that it wasn't doing well towards the end of January, and now it's gone. But um but this is something too where a lot of tillandsia, you might not know they're dead for a little bit. So um so a lot of folks will end up killing their tillandsia because they don't water it enough. That happens a lot. Or the opposite, they also might water them too much. But the issue is that these little trichomes, so it's this like silvery sheen that you're seeing here. So anytime they're dehydrated, they kind of perk up. They give it this really silvery, velvety kind of look to the plant. But even when the plant is no longer alive, it does take some time for all of this to really die back. So while the center was dying back, so that was telling me that the core was basically dying. The outside tissue is still kind of getting caught up. So it didn't, but there's nothing I can do. I can't save it. But yeah, I said let me put that aside to to show you what that looks like. So if you have any rotting at the base of your tillandsia, if you're starting to kind of, it literally starts to come apart, then that's it. It's very unfortunate, but yeah, that's the telltale sign. The telltale sign, sorry, of your tillandsia. It's gone, it's done. So yeah, um there was no scent or anything. It's just the base is like completely hollowed out. So very, very unfortunate. But it's really interesting. I really like the leaf morphology. So even when things are not doing well, I like to kind of take that opportunity. I'm like, all right, well, I want to dig and look and see what's up with it. so I wanted to show you what that looks like. And if it's, and Ava's asking, is an air plant completely dead and hopeless if it's brown or dry? Yes. So if it is completely brown and crispy, yes, then it's gone. So you don't want to get it to that point. So as long as the leaves, so I mean, of course, the morphology of the leaves are very different. Like, hold on. This for Akina, I think it's Tillandsia fumikina or Forakina. It's something with the F and then Akina. So this one has very grass-like leaves. It's very thin. So this one dries really quickly. So I tend to I water them all at the same time. So this one dries out very quickly, and it has some of the dried leaves at the base because it just dries super, super fast. So I've noticed that the ones that have kind of those grass-like leaves really, really dry super, super fast. The ones that have much more flat leaves, like these are more so for like xeric species. And so this is for species that kind of, they don't want to get as watered. They would prefer kind of like a quick dunk. They don't want to be soaked. In comparison to these that do want to be soaked. This is just a quick dunk. It does not want me to just leave it in water. This I do water them, and I leave them for about an hour or so, and then I take them out. I put them upside down, either on a tablecloth, or I use these. I have a bunch of these that I use for watering, and so I just put them upside down. It has like a little rubber insert, and I just put them upside down overnight so that it'll dry. But yes, if it's completely brown, that's it. It's unfortunately gone. I'm trying to see. Yeah, you could see here. There's this leaf, and this leaf is dead. Like these two. And this is normal. This will happen at the base. But if the whole plant looks like that, where it's like thin and brown and crispy, it's dead. So you can't bring it back, unfortunately. These guys, when they're thirsty, they look more silvery. So right now it's looking more green. But when they're really, really, really thirsty, it looks really, really silvery. And that's because the trichomes are up. So if you were to really look at the trichomes, these little spikes that are all over them, they actually they kind of look like a little drawbridge, right? So they're kind of like this, they kind of open up, and so therefore it kind of catches the light, so it kind of gives it this luminescent silvery kind of look. And then what happens is that when moisture comes into contact with the leaf, the little trichome locks it in. So basically it brings the drawbridge up, locks the moisture inside, and then it gives it more of a green look. And then as it dries, it starts to open again, and then that gives it that more silvery look again. It's super, super cool. It's the whole mechanism is super cool. And because tillandsias take in everything basically through their leaves, they take in water, their nutrition. So this is why if you do have them, there are specifically made fertilizers for bromeliads. They are a type of nitrogen that is taken up via the leaves. So it's very different from regular kind of commercial fertilizer used for houseplants with conventional roots. So do be aware, it's a completely different fertilizer specifically for these. So you do not use regular fertilizer with your tillandsia. It will harm them if you do otherwise. Let me see here. Gabby asks, how do air plants grow in the wild if they aren't rooted? I've only seen them as house plants. Do they exist loose like a tumbleweed? Oh, yes. Yes. So they do have roots, but the issue is that the roots are more so just to kind of stick themselves to a surface. And it's not like this conventional root system that is uptaking nutrients and water like that. They do definitely exist in the wild. It's just more in tropical areas, so, or semi-tropical. I mean, they're all over like Florida. You can find them all over Florida. In Costa Rica, everywhere. So they're on trees. They're even on the like telephone wires. They're on there, and there are some that are called ball moss, and that's again a common name that's incorrect because it's not a moss, but they do clump together. So basically, when these reproduce, they reproduce by making pups, and these pups form at the base. So let's pretend here. We're gonna pretend. So let's say it makes this little pup right here, and so what happens is that it keeps making pups, and they're all connected, and then they'll basically, here's the stick, right? And so this whole little thing becomes kind of like a tumbleweed, very much so. And it's just a clump. And it's just a bunch of these connected at the base like this. And they're super cool looking. Also, if you're familiar with what do they call it? Spanish moss. Again, not a moss. It's actually a tillandsia. But that one hangs like a chain link, kind of. So if you ever seen in those movies where they're set in like Louisiana or in the like the deep south, and you see kind of like this kind of bearded plant that hangs kind of like curtains on old trees, and you see these like long things like that. That's actually Tillandsia. So it's a Tillandsia usneoides, I think is the specific epithet. And basically it grows like a beard. So it's all connected. So it's like one grows here, one grows here, one grows here, like that. And they cascade down kind of like a big curtain. Um, Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, they're stuck. They're stuck on those surfaces. Um, and in some cases, so in many areas, folks misunderstand Tillandsia and they think that they are a parasite, that they're harming the tree that they're on. But they don't. They don't steal nutrients from the tree, so they're not a parasitic plant. Now there are parasitic plants for folks who may not be aware. There are indeed parasitic plants. Oh, I actually have this. I had grabbed this as a teaching aid. I haven't taken it out yet. But this is mistletoe, and mistletoe is a parasitic plant. And so this one actually does tap into the tree, and does indeed take it out of the box here. Here we go. So this is meant for Christmas, but they were selling it, and I was like, that's so cool because it's preserved, so I could use it for my students. So this is mistletoe, and this is indeed parasitic, and so this will grow on trees, and it taps into them and steals nutrients from them, and we use them in Christmas. But yeah, it is an actual, you're kissing under a parasitic plant, just so that you're aware. Just so that you're aware of that. But these are not. So they're basically using the tree kind of like scaffolding, right? So they're just kind of using it to sit on. But if the tree is very old, that can be a problem. So if the tree is very old, you live in an area where there's a lot of like storms, and the trees are relatively old, what ends up happening is that some of these can get huge. I mean, like ginormous. And what ends up happening is that they start putting more and more weight on these old branches, and when it rains, they get fully saturated, and they will actually fill up with water, and this can cause that branch to come down. And so they didn't technically, the age of the tree is more less of a significant issue in that and what happens like that. But yes, if there's a lot of them accumulated and it's a very old tree, then that can be dangerous. In Costa Rica, they're literally everywhere. They're on street lights, they're on just literally people's fences, they're on fence posts, so on the wooden posts. So anywhere they seem to be able to stick, they stick. So because again, they're not using that base for any nutritional value, they're just getting stuck on it. But certain metals can actually poison Tillandsia. So you don't, if they're on a type of metal, either it's kind of like a fresh thing, or that specific metal might not be very dangerous for the plant. But there are some type of metals that you do use that is very toxic to the plant. It can actually start to burn the plant, eventually kill the plant. So be very careful. George, yes, I think George dropped in copper. So I believe it's copper is that the one that you're not supposed to use. So there is, let me know, George. I think copper is the one you're not supposed to use, but I know there are some safe metals and some aren't. The ones that aren't are escaping me at this moment. But you have to be careful because people sell these little kind of metal things for you to put your air plants in. So make sure that you check what type of metal they're made of. Because you might get it and you think, oh, this is so cute, and you put your tillandsia and it actually ends up killing your tillandsia. So please be aware of that. But yeah, tillandsia are a lot of fun. I have so many different species, and I think they're just so cool. The morphology has always interested me. Just like the different shapes, the different species. And then I forget what species what species they are. And I'll just tell Brian, yeah, the one that looks like grass. So I have to brush up on the species. I think this is the stenoclada. I think it's steno something, steno with like star, stenostellaria, maybe. Yeah. But this one is definitely more of a xeric species. So out of all of these are all kind of more rainforest species, and this one is more of an arid, high altitude type of tillandsia. So it's very different. It likes much more light. It likes much more light, less water, and it can put up with things like really high winds. It can dry out a lot more, and I don't have to worry too much in comparison to these that will crisp up. Now for here in the house, I actually water these about every 2 weeks. I give them a dunk for about an hour, and then I let them dry overnight, and then I put them back wherever, kind of throughout here. Here there is a grow light. But other than that, they're pretty easy. So yeah, I really, really enjoy these. Oh yes, thank you, George. So George confirmed, yes, so it's copper that is very toxic to tillandsia. So be aware of that if you have any of that kind of copper. Because sometimes I've seen sellers making kind of like these tillandsia holders. And I know I have like 2 that I've purchased previously. But that they're kind of like diamonds, and you can hang them, and you can kind of stick your tillandsia in there, and it looks really pretty, but you have to be very, very mindful what kind of metal that you're getting. Brenda is asking, what are air plants' light and humidity requirements? I live in Colorado and it's very dry here. Great question. So yes, in terms of humidity, I mean, they definitely prefer a lot more humidity. But on average, these are the hardier species, which are the Tillandsia ionantha. It's the ones that you're more than likely going to come across. They're the most common. They're very, very hardy. So these, I mean, I've seen folks keep them in pretty relatively dry areas, as long as they're getting watered, and they're usually fine. So if you just kind of forget about them, that's where the problem lies. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to add extra humidity. Now, if you're more of a laid back person and you feel like, I don't think I can keep up with the watering and kind of stay on top of it, then you might want to get a xeric species. So a species that can kind of put up with more dryness, more light, less water. So you might want to kind of lean towards this type of tillandsia for that reason, because they're kind of built for that type of environment. Of course, they still appreciate humidity, but they're just a little tougher in that type of environment. So there are like the tillandsia, I think xerographica. So it looks very similar to this, and yeah, it might just do a little bit better in terms of light. So these so the ionanthus, they don't want super, super bright light. They like kind of bright indirect light. So I don't have them under my grow lights. I kind of put them like over here, or I kind of hang them up above on the little shelves I have. I kind of put them among the plants. So they're getting some light, but it's not full on. However, the xeric species do need a lot stronger light. So these I will put kind of lower where it's gonna actually get hit by the grow light. So these do need a little bit a little bit higher light. So yeah, just know that there are basically two spectrums of Tillandsia. So kind of a more xeric kind of species, and then the mesic species, mesic or meric, I think mesic, kind of species that are kind of more rainforest. So these are less light, more water, and this is more light, less water. So it's kind of on this spectrum. So kind of think where thank you, George, mesic. So yeah, so kind of see where you think you might kind of fall in that spectrum. I mean, I feel like they are pretty good for folks that might live very busy lives that kind of want the peculiarity of them, right? You want them in the house, but you can't like give them so much attention. So something that you can kind of water, give a good soak, and kind of forget for a week or even two. Yeah. So someone's asking how long are they exposed to the grow light. So these grow lights specifically behind me, they stay on for about 12 hours a day. My other grow lights, I have ones in my bedroom, but those are southeastern light. And those stay on for about 4 hours because I have pretty strong morning light. But then in the afternoon, it kind of gets kind of dark in there. There's just not like lights coming in the windows, but it's not really hitting the walls where I have my plants. So I have like 4 hours. And then in the evening, it does get a little brighter in there so that by then the lights are turned off. So it's just natural light. And then I don't have any lights in front of me by my western windows. But in the kitchen, I do have a grow light set up for my little hospital area for the plants. And those lights turn on, I think they're on a 6-hour cycle. And yeah, so those are on a 6-hour cycle. I know that Brian has his own grow lights, but I don't think he uses a timer. I think he just kind of turns them on while he's working and kind of turns them off at the end of the day. So he gives them a pretty long, kind of a long day of light. The reason I've always used 12-hour cycles is I keep a lot of my succulents back here. And so they don't really know, they don't really feel that it's winter. So I like to keep them growing. And a lot of them also have a lot of bright colors. And I want to keep that. So for instance, let me not knock a bunch of these down. So just so you could see, I love these colors here. Hold on. And the grow light really brings out those reds, the red edges, pinks. It really kind of keeps that color. And so I want to keep that color. So I keep them exposed to light a little longer. And yeah, because even these this panda. So I don't know if any of you also have like the panda. they sometimes come in like this brown color, and they call them the chocolate soldier. So this is a Kalanchoe. Um, so this one, you can see those kind of brown edges, and with the light, it stays. I have a bunch of these. I really like these. They're very fuzzy. They're very soft to the touch. So I really like them. So I have a bunch of these throughout the house. But I've noticed that the ones that I have in the windows, they do eventually lose that pigmentation around the edge. But the ones that I have where there are grow lights, it keeps that coloring. And so yeah, so I keep them. I have some that I keep under the grow lights for that reason. So that they'll kind of keep that coloration. Um because otherwise they just end up turning green. Oh, and I didn't show, but I don't think the camera is gonna pick it up. But I did find this string of pearls that has some variegation on it, but I really don't think the camera is gonna pick it up. But there's a little bit of variegation on some of the pearls. Um, I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up. It's so light. But yeah, there's some variegation in there, and the person was selling them for only $3. So I grabbed one, and let's see. So I'm keeping it under the grow light. Hopefully that will be great. And then this Plectranthus, so if anybody knows like the different like Cuban oreganos, and I grabbed this one. I really liked the variegation. So not only did it have the white edge, but it also has like the light green and dark variegation. And these guys, when you rub them, oh, it smells so good. They kind of smell like oregano. So there are folks that call them like the Vicks plant and things like that. So I just really like the variegation on this one. So because it's not just that white edge, there's a bunch of these types of leaves that have lime green and dark green, which I really like. So I grabbed one of these little guys, and yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and the new growth that it's actually putting in under the grow light. So I got this week ago, 2 weeks ago. The new growth that it's starting to put out, you can kind of, oh, it's hard for the camera to pick it up, but this is like a slight pink. So this is all new growth here, these little leaves here, and these little leaves here. And I can see that they're pink, but I don't think the camera's picking that up. I'm not sure how if it's actually picking that up, but yeah, so the new leaves are coming in. These are very thirsty plants. I have some in our bedroom, and I have to water them at least once a week. So I really try to remember. So I might tell myself every Saturday, water your Cuban oreganos. Because yeah, they will faint, and they crisp up very easily. But they're such a neat plant. So yeah, if you find them, and they're just great. I love the smell. So smell. They smell so good. So good. But yeah, and how long are they exposed? Yes, oh yeah, so I answered that one. Oh, and someone just asked, I just purchased a small Zalania snake plant a couple of weeks ago because one clump of leaves had a bloom shoot with buds coming out. Pretty cool. But that shoot is now producing tiny little drops of sticky fluid. Is that normal or not? I don't think I've overwatered it, and it is in a good drainage substrate. Linda. Okay, great question. So a couple things. So, with some types of flowers, so I'm not sure if Dracaena does this. So towards the end of their life cycle, they might push out what is called exudates. So this might be things like sugar crystals, or just sugar as well. And so basically they're called exudates because they're exuded, so they're kind of pushed out of the plant. And usually it's as an offering to insects like ants or potential pollinators, and it's kind of a gift, an attractant for insects to come. Hey, look, there's sugar, and look, I have flowers. Is kind of a thing for them to attract pollinators in that way as well. And it's kind of an offering. Now there are sometimes, for instance, when my Cameodora, my bamboo palm, when I have a female and her name is Delilah, and whenever Delilah puts out fruit, now they're sterile because she needs a male bamboo palm to actually be present to fertilize and then have the berries actually be fertile. So she just puts out fruit, but nothing nothing happens. With that, they when they put out their flowers that then subsequently become fruit, they can be very attractive to pests. So thankfully she's never gotten mealy bugs, but I have seen folks who have Cameodora palms, and when they go into flower, and they start to get fruit, they get very sticky. And this is actually because they're being fed on by like mealy bugs, spider mites, things like that. So I would say to just give it a very good check and make sure that nothing is actually kind of feasting on your flowers right now. But it could also just be that it's towards kind of the end of its blooming period. It might be pushing out some kind of sugars on its way out because the flowers are going to die off. I think that with Dracaena, I don't know if they can self-pollinate. So I don't think they can. I think you need to cross-pollinate them. But yeah, so I would really very much check to see if you're seeing any pests on there, just to be
Oh,
safe.
Miss Linda here,
Oh, hi. Yes.
listening. So thank you for doing this. So far, no, it's as clean as a whistle. There's
Okay.
nothing. I checked for fungus gnats, nothing's happening. No scale, no mealy bugs. It's super. It's such a cool looking flower. It's just like single stem and these little clumps. And I never have seen that before, and that's why I bought it.
Yes, no, it's a beautiful and it's very much a surprise sometimes, right? For folks that have snake plants for a while, it really shoots up really fast, and so you won't notice, right, the flower stem kind of coming up at first because the snake plant's leaves, and then by the time it gets tall enough and then opens up in this spray of flowers, it's such a beautiful contrast in comparison to the snake plant.
It's really interesting because they're like two pups inside this little small, cutting thing that I got. And I was going, I've never seen a snake plant blooming. I have to buy this. Only $12. I said, oh my gosh. Yep. Well, thank you so much. I thought maybe that was the case too, or I'd overwatered it, but I don't think so. I think it could possibly be the bloom. So
Yeah. So
sugars,
it could just be, yeah, it could just be like some exudates. It's kind of pushing out
how do you
sugars.
spell that? Exudate.
Exudates. So EXUDATES. Exudates. Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh, you're
Yeah.
very welcome. Yeah, and I mean, a couple plants actually push exudates out of their leaves. Like if you've ever had any cissus family plants, so that's in the grape, kind of grape family, they will put out these little crystals. And so I get a lot of clients that panic because they see like the bottom of their cissus has a bunch of like these crystals kind of things, right? And it's actually because in the wild they form a symbiotic relationship with ants. And so these are
Oh,
kind
like, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, hey, here's some sugar. And then the ants come and feast on the sugar and then fight off any competition, fight off any pests and kind of protect the plant that way. And so yeah, you get some of that. And there are some philodendrons that do that too.
Huh.
That also produce exudates. So yeah, it's a neat thing. So but thankfully it's not something to worry about.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
should just sit there and not clean it off or anything, right?
I mean, you don't have to clean it off. The only issue with things like nectar or sugar water in general, is if it's falling on the leaves and it's making the leaves very sticky, what you might run the risk of is something called sooty mold. Um,
Yeah.
and so basically it's kind of like this black mold that will start to grow on the leaf. Thankfully, all you have to do, even if you get sooty mold, is just take a damp paper towel and wipe it off and it's gone.
Okay.
So, but it's a specific type of mold that is highly attracted to like nectars and sugars that fall on leaves. So if you just kind of want to just make sure that it doesn't attract any molds, and if it's on the leaves, I would definitely wipe them down for that. For just
Okay.
to make sure to keep that out of the of the realm of possibility. So
But I just one other little quick thing. Do laurel leaves or bay leaf plants get that exudate on it?
oh, um, I've never personally seen it.
Know if it was oils coming out. And then, I was checking for scale because I had some outside and I brought it back in and they got scale and I've been treating them for about 5 weeks now. And it seems to be pretty good. But occasionally some of the leaves seem to be, they're not slippery, but shiny, shinier than normal.
Yeah,
So it was an oil or something coming out of it, but I just was curious about that too.
yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen anything coming out of bay leaves. I don't. It's something. It's only a type of plant that I've seen kind of when I go down like more south because it's not a very common plant here in New York City.
I know, and pots here in the house because I'm in Buffalo. So yeah.
Yeah. um, but yeah, no, I don't I personally don't think so. I don't think so. So it could just be as a result of a byproduct of a pest.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been cleaning them, religiously with my, diluted rubbing alcohol.
Good, yeah. And keep it up because
Yeah.
yeah, like even whenever you have an infection on the plant, you wanna treat it for at least 10 weeks. Um, at least 10 weeks because that at least okay, even if it feels like overkill, it's better.
No, no, I know, and I don't want it to spread to anything else. So they're all segregated in the spare bedroom. Well, I've taken up too much time for the
Oh
rest of the
no.
people. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. And let me see what other questions here. Oh, and hello everyone. Sorry, I'm seeing now a bunch of folks who were where they were tuning in from. Hello, Southern California. We've got Texas. Let me see here. Here we go, George. Is it safe or is it safe to say, is it safe to say that the bigger and broader the leaves of an air plant are, the more gray or silvery the foliage is, the more arid adaptive they are? Yes. You can see that. There is definitely a correlation between those kind of thicker flat leaves and the kind of amount of silveriness you see in the foliage. But there are some exceptions to the rule, like the Tillandsia. It's like a tortum, it's Tor. I'm trying to remember the specific epithet, the scientific name. But there is one where it's very thin. It's more so it's like very thin, like these leaves, but it has this shape. So it's not as kind of tall and lanky like this. It's very much kind of like that bulb kind of formation, but it's covered in these really thin leaves, and it's like super silver. And I think it's one of the most silver ones that you can get. And it's actually a xeric. It's more of a xeric species. So it gets really, really silver, and it can put up with really high winds, a lot more dryness, a lot more sun. And it's like it's super furry. It looks super furry and super silvery. So there are some exceptions to that. But yeah, you do tend to see that with their leaves kind of flatter with these smaller tillandsias. You do tend to see that they tend to be a little bit more adaptive towards these kind of arid and kind of high light areas. But yeah, they're super cool. But there are some exceptions, but you do see that type of correlation. Deanna's asking, how mature does a snake plant have to be in order to bloom? So I mean, I've seen them in still happening in relatively smaller plants. I think the rate of growth can depend very much so on the environment. So you might have a snake plant that's only a few years old that is pretty substantial in size, being that it's getting like great light. So I have seen them blooming when the snake plant's like at least 2 to 3 feet high. I'm not sure what I can't remember off the top of my head if they have to reach a certain age. So there are certain plants that do. So for those of you who might not be aware, there are certain plants that they do have to hit really much an age before they can start producing flowers or producing fruit. It's kind of like they reach sexual maturity, very much so. So the plant can be huge and gorgeous, but if it's still too young, it won't produce any fruit. And then this can be sometimes very difficult for folks if they're trying to specifically sex their plants. So let's say you purposely want a male and a female version of a specific plant. For certain plants that are dioecious, that some have male plant parts, female parts, flower parts. There we go. They have male flower parts and female flower parts, and you kind of want one of each, right? Because you want to maybe start to produce seed for yourself. And so this can sometimes be very difficult if the plants aren't old enough yet. This is one big issue with ginkgos. This is why a lot of our street trees here in New York City, their kind of rootstock, because and they're kind of like cuttings from male trees, because female trees, it can take, I think, 30 or 40 years before the female tree will start to produce fruit. And if you don't know, ginkgo biloba fruit smells very, very bad. It's some type of I think is buleic acid, something like that. But basically it's meant to kind of turn you off to eating it. It smells very much kind of like vomit. And so basically it's supposed to deter the seeds from being eaten. But the squirrels and raccoons don't seem to mind at all, because I see them eating the fruit all the time. But yeah, so that's why you see a lot. That's also an issue, right? With having kind of clones of certain types of species, because if there was some type of disease that were to come about, it could very quickly take everybody out. It, you know, because it's called a monoculture, and because all of those trees are now genetically identical, so they're all going to fare the same way. You know, they, if they are very susceptible to that disease, they're all going to get the disease. But yeah, so just, it's just a side story. I do work with the city trees. I'm a citizen pruner, and I'm a super steward. So we're always working with our street trees. And that's usually a thing when a baby ginkgo gets put in. Folks start asking, do you know if it's a male ginkgo or a female ginkgo? And I know that in many cases the contractors, they're getting their supply that are kind of started as kind of cuttings that are put on rootstock, to kind of know that they're male, so that they won't produce that fruit. Because if you kind of start one from seed, you don't really know unless you kind of do like a test. They kind of get like a DNA test, but that can be very expensive, so that might not be possible. But yeah, you get that issue. That's an issue with some trees. So I love ginkgo leaves. I think ginkgo leaves are absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, exudates, Georgia. I'm gonna write the word exudates. There you go. So George put the name of the acid. So it's a butyric acid. There we go. Yes, very, very terrible smell. Yeah, and yes, exactly. And it's called grafting. And so they will take basically a cutting, and they will kind of Frankenstein it onto the base, so the rootstock of another tree. Well, it's a ginkgo, but it's basically so that they know for a fact that it's male. And so they kind of do that. I have an example of a graft with this cactus right here. So this is a grafted cactus. So the top is, I believe, a gymnocalycium, and the base is dragon fruit. So these are actually two different species, but these are grafted. So the top part is known as the scion, and the base is called the rootstock. And so basically the scion can't survive without the rootstock. So usually it's these really interesting colored little cacti that you see that sometimes are red, sometimes are yellow, sometimes they're just different colors, and they also have different species as well. But these, basically, the scion cannot produce enough chlorophyll to keep itself alive. There are some species too where they might have some green, but the roots aren't strong enough to sustain the plant long term, and so they would usually die when they're kind of in their pots. So what this is done, so where they are literally grafted, they are Frankenstein together. So the base of the gymnocalycium is sliced so that it kind of exposes tissue. And then the same thing happens with the rootstock, as they slice it. So you're seeing the flesh. And then they are bonded. So sometimes this is literally done with like a paste, with like a glue. Sometimes they are kind of taped together. Sometimes they are kind of use like a string or something to kind of clamp them together. And what happens is, as the tissue heals, they bond with one another. So the exposed skin with the exposed skin, and they heal, and they actually end up creating vasculature, essentially, like vessels, where then what ends up happening is now this becomes its primary food and water supply. So the base is green. So this is going to be photosynthesizing. This is going to be producing those sugars that then this parasite, because this is basically what happens, is that this feeds off of that. So as long as the base is being kept healthy, then this is fine. However, this isn't a very long-term thing. So usually the scion starts to, after a certain point, especially if it's getting bigger and bigger, like this one is even producing a pup. You can kind of see right here, this little guy is producing a pup. So sometimes these guys, they either start to get too large or produce a lot, and it's very taxing on the rootstock. So what ends up happening is the rootstock starts to die. And if this dies, this definitely dies. These usually last about 2 years or so on average, so they're not very long lived. But this is very common practice. Now, sometimes you can save the rootstock. So sometimes these will start to die, the scion will start to die. And if so, either you can let it dry out and then take it right off, or you can try to separate them with like a scalpel if you want to really save this rootstock so that it keeps living. I have one of these where the scion died, and it just literally, it started crisping up, and so I kind of let it dehydrate more before I was able to just take it clean off. And then now I have a dragon fruit that is producing already a little arm, and it's happy in my in my bedroom. So sometimes the rootstock will survive, but know that if the rootstock does start to die and if the top part cannot photosynthesize, the scion won't survive. Now, you can see also that sometimes they do stick other types of species that do have green that can survive, and the scion can technically live by itself. So yeah, but this is just a very interesting, I get these just because I really like weird things, and so I think this is my third one. I had one for almost 3 years. It was like I think it was just over 2.5 years. Then the next one I had for about 2 years. And now I got this one. So yeah, so these are great. Oh, Tanya, do you recommend neem oil for cleaning plants and pest prevention? All right. So with neem oil, there are a couple issues. So with neem, well, number one, if you're not familiar with neem, it does have a very strong smell. So for me, it's there's a smell, but for some people, it's very annoying. So that's firstly, before you ever start working with neem, try to kind of do a test spot, and see if you're one of those people that might be sensitive to it. So just kind of check. In terms of if I use it on the regular, so I had a bunch of neem oil that I was using, but I just found a couple things that are an issue. So one, if you don't dilute it enough, it can get very gunky, and what can happen is it actually blocks the pores of your plant, the lenticels and the stomata. So you want to be very mindful that you're kind of not doing that by accident, and kind of gunking up and blocking those pores. Another thing is really once it dries, it's pretty ineffective. So it kind of has to be in a more kind of liquidy state on the plant to be effective. Another issue too is if you use neem on your plants, you have to remove your plants from sunlight for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And so if not, the neem actually amplifies the effects of sunlight onto the plants. And then what ends up happening is that your leaves will start to burn. It makes them very phytosensitive. So, so for all those reasons, I stopped using neem. So I just found that it was very labor intensive, just kind of diluting it and then applying it. And then I would have to move my plants away from the windows. But then if you want to technically keep using it as a preventative, you basically have to keep applying it, and then you have to keep keeping your plants away from the windows. And it was like this endless loop. And so I was just like, no, it really wasn't working as much for me personally, that I thought, oh, I can't like live without it. I just found personally that using things like rubbing alcohol has been much more effective, and also like biological controls. So using kind of like integrative pest management, and so like using other invertebrates to kill anything, to kind of eat any pests that I may have. So like with the combination of rubbing alcohol and personal treatments of like washing the plant off if I needed to, and then having kind of predators around. That's where I kind of ended up falling in the pest prevention spectrum. That's where I kind of fell. Yes, so George is mentioning with the exudates that there are plants that are symbiotic, for instance, like and there's a it's like myrmectic. I'm seeing that you put the species name, so it's a Myrmecodia becquerel. It's the ant plant. So yes, there are some plants that specifically have these relationship with ants that actually have a hollow inside. And so what's really neat is that not only does the plant kind of give these attractive sugars to the ants, but also gives them a home. So the plant itself specifically grows with this kind of hollowed inside, with like even some of them have chambers, which are really cool. And then the ants literally live inside of the plant without harming it. It's super cool. It's like, hey, I'm in ant hotel. and then it really invites basically ants to come live inside of them. And yeah, and then it's protected that way. It's super, super cool. There are also plants like different Dichidia, which are related to Hoyas. There are some that I'm forgetting the scientific name, but basically their leaves look very much like suction cups. And so they kind of shingle on trees, and they're kind of creating these kind of look like little mushroom caps that kind of like suction cup to the trees. And it's very common to have ants also living inside of those types of leaves. So it's super cool. A lot of ways that plants have kind of evolved, right, to do that. So folks are mentioning the old recordings, and so that's an issue. So the whole thing with Society X was that so that's a whole issue, is that they basically wanted to take my content, and so that's why they were doing certain things that I didn't like. They were doing certain things that I just really didn't I didn't appreciate. And so they were also like volunteering me to do like work that I didn't want to do, things like that. So that's why I left their platform. and they were supposed to delete all of my recordings because legally I wasn't allowing them to keep them. But then it looks like they were keeping them. So I'm currently speaking to a lawyer about this. So I think that it would not be good for me to share those recordings. So basically, I was invited to teach my class on Society X's platform, and that they would promote it, but that it was my class. But then when I was trying to leave, they were basically saying that they own all of my content and that I can't teach plant classes anymore. And I was like, well, that's my career. I was teaching plants, and that's my background, like in school. Like, so you can't tell me that I can't teach the same subject. I was a teacher before I was teaching on your platform. I've taught on a bunch of different platforms. So you can't really claim that, because they were trying to claim that basically everything I've ever said during their classes, you know, that's all theirs, and they could do whatever they wanted with all of my hard work that I did for free for them. So yeah. So I don't think I can share those recordings, but I am in the process of updating all of those slides and creating new class lectures like that. And oh, thank you, Synth. Yeah. Yeah, George. Yep. And so the whole thing is that I didn't sign a contract because I was friends with the person, and they had invited me and said, we would really love if you could just do some classes on our platform. And I said, yeah, sure. But I didn't sign anything. And then I was doing the classes, and then now they started kind of saying, oh, we want you to do this, and we volunteered you to do this, and kind of things like that. And I was like, well, that doesn't work with my schedule. Like I do work, I have other things I do. I can't do that event that you just told these people I'm going to do, you know, things like that. And they were like basically promising that I was going to be doing a certain amount of live in-person classes, for instance. And I said, you can't do that without talking to me. So like things like that, they were kind of overstepping, and then they kept having technical issues, and it was just overall very frustrating. And so I said, you know what, I think I'm just gonna go and just continue to do my own classes. And then that's when they started to kind of fight back. And but the whole thing is that I was teaching before. I've been teaching with a bunch of other platforms. So they were really kind of reaching, and but thankfully, I hadn't signed that. So yeah, I've been talking to a lawyer and trying to see what we can do, because they were supposed to delete all of my recordings. And then as of recently, I've heard that those were still up, and they were still promoting them. So it's yeah, so it's just very frustrating. So we'll see, but yeah, I am planning to share out, kind of take them and like really update it, and like the old slides that I had done and stuff like that, just kind of am going to the drawing board. And I've been playing with a bunch of different programs. I love Canva. And so yeah, so I'm hoping to kind of take those and just do something new with them. Yeah, so yes, yes, exactly. And so the whole thing is that I'm doing this for free, right? So this is for free. And so they were basically promoting it and stuff, and they were like basically planning to get money for it. And I said, well, this is free, so it's not fair if you get money for it. You told me that this was for free, and I'm just doing this to spread the plant love. and it's not fair that then you are making money off of my work, of me staying up late on classes and things like that. So it's been a nightmare. Um, so that's, that's what's been happening in the background. I'm so sorry to hear that that happened to you too, Linda. And it's unfortunate. And so I had that too happen with I won't name them, but there's an herb school, and they asked me to do some classes for them, and to kind of get people interested in enrollment. And then they actually had asked me to take a look at their curriculum and what did I think about it. And I started basically catching that they were making me do work without paying me. And I said, well, I think, since I'm consulting on this stuff, that I should, I'll stop here, and I would love to help you, but this will be my rate. And that there was a lot of pushback there. And then I found out they had actually taken the free classes that I had offered to kind of introduce people to herbalism. They had actually taken them and were selling them. Were basically, they put their branding and stuff and incorporated it into their own thing without asking. So it happens. People will, you try to do something nice and share your knowledge, and it's like, this is years and years of knowledge. You've gone to school for it, you've gone to classes, you've done mentorship, it's personal experience. And so it's very disheartening when you work really hard on something and then you're willing to share it with folks, because that's just what I like to do. I want to share it with folks, and it's very disheartening when people do that kind of thing. So it's very, very frustrating. But yeah. But thankfully, again, I hadn't signed anything, so I think my lawyer thinks that that's a good thing. I didn't sign anything. But yes, so Deanna's asking, can a fig tree grow well in a screened-in porch with a morning sun exposure? It should, yeah. I mean, depends on if it's the common fig. I mean, they definitely like a sun, but while it's still small, I think that's definitely fine. If you mean like another ficus, like a Ficus benjamina, like a weeping fig, or a fiddle leaf fig, yeah, definitely. Screened in porch with some morning exposure. I think a Ficus benjamina would probably do really well long term that way. Maybe a small fiddle leaf fig, but they will really appreciate more sun as they get larger, definitely.
Jocelyn, are
Oh,
those that you're mentioning produce the fig itself, the fruit?
Oh, if they yes, the common figs,
Yes.
they have like the kind of like, they have like the weird the leaf has like a lot of lobes.
Yes, correct.
Yes, and they produce the edible figs.
Okay.
Now, like fiddle leaf figs, they will produce fruit too, but they're inedible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely want the ones that I can pick and eat, because I
Yes.
just love them. Yeah, right. Good.
Yes,
Thank
the
you.
common,
Great.
you're welcome. Yeah, the common figs are good to go.
Cool.
Yeah, I learned later on, it was only recently that I learned that well, one, I had never seen a fiddle leaf fig flower like in someone's house before. And the one time I ever saw them flowering was actually in a nursery, which made sense because it's it's supposed to be like these perfect kind of parameters, right? Humidity, light, everything. And it was flowering. I thought that was gorgeous. And I was looking, that's when I started looking more into it. And that's when I found out that they will actually produce fruit when they are flowering in like nurseries, and sometimes in people's houses if they're like kept in that type of situation. But that you do not eat the figs. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah. Oh yes, George, exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. You know, that's the thing too, right? So that's what my husband was saying, that if they just paid for the content, that's one thing. But if I was giving something away for free, then they shouldn't take it and then make profit off of it. That just doesn't that's not fair. So yeah. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. We'll see where this goes. And I'm not the only person. And that's the whole thing. So this happened to a lot of folks with that company. So yeah. Let me see. Oh, I did want to show you. So I came across, I have my box of tissues, but I did come across this guy. And this is a Kalanchoe. And so this one's called Petra's Sunfire. So I just got this guy over the weekend. It's super cool looking, but I'm gonna put it under the grow light in the bedroom to really bring out that red. So if you could see, it has kind of a red tinge on the edges of the leaves. And it looks like it has some on the more mature leaves. The newer leaves don't really have that red, but the older leaves do. So I'm gonna set this up in the bedroom and see if I can really bring out that red, because that's what made me grab it. And then this euphorbia. So I have to figure out exactly what species this euphorbia is. But it's super cool. Super cool. You could see it kind of goes from orange to red. Super neat. Very spiky. Something that's really interesting about euphorbias and cacti and the way that their needles are different is with cacti, their needles are modified leaves. And so cacti, there are exceptions. I think there are 1 or 2 species of cacti that do actually produce what we would consider leaves. But otherwise, they either have these spines or they don't. But with euphorbia, they do produce leaves, and then they produce these needles are more so like thorns. So they are separate from the actual leaf structure. So they aren't a modified leaf. It's more of a thorn. And though people do call a lot of euphorbia cactus. So they're both succulents, but they're not both cacti. But you see a lot of euphorbia being called cacti. But like I'm trying to see, but not all euphorbia have thorns. And this is an example. This is one of my favorite euphorbia. And so this one started as a tiny cutting. I'll see if I can find an old picture, but it was basically like this and like kind of like this section. It was like this big. And it's grown so much. And this is literally, the common name is called the dead stick plant. And this is one of my favorite plants that I have because it's one of the weirdest plants. It's very flat, if you could see it. It has like, it's very flat. But it has like gray and purple, and it's hard for the camera to really pick that up, but you could kind of see has these markings that are like gray, and under the grow light it gets like this purple sheen to it. And when I had first heard about this plant, I knew I needed to have it, but a lot of sellers didn't sell it, and I found just that one cutting that wasn't even rooted, and this was about 3 years ago. And it's grown so much under this grow light. It's just totally, I love it so much. And it's just this weird flat dead looking plant. But it's just such a cool euphorbia. So this is one of my favorite, the dead stick plant. And it just keeps growing this way. And I've seen them like they get pretty tall and then they start trailing. And it just looks like a bundle. And there is another species called bundle of sticks. And it looks very similar, but it's much more cylindrical. But it's kind of the same thing where it looks like a dead plant. I need to get that one too, but so not all euphorbia have thorns or leaves. Some of them just look like a dead plant, but it just keeps putting out growth. And so I've kept it like this. I've never repotted it. I just have it in a mix with perlite, leca. I have some poultry grit and then just a little bit of succulent soil. But it's mostly just kind of like rocky and sandy. And that's it. And I water it about once every 3 weeks or so. And that's all I do for this guy. And it just keeps growing. But yeah, this is one of my favorite euphorbia, definitely. It's such a weirdo, and and I like it. But yeah. And what else did I want to show you? Oh, and I ordered a bunch of cuttings, so I'm finally getting plant mail again. And so I love when folks sellers kind of throw in leaves and things for you to propagate. And so there's like a jelly bean, there's the jelly bean succulent, and then there's the jades. So I'll try, I don't know about how this one's gonna fare. The base isn't looking too hot. It's not soft, it's crispy. So I'll try to see if this one will propagate for me. But I did get these cuttings of a bunch of different types of Hoya. So these are my first cuttings of the year. This one, the queen, the Crimson Queen, they wrapped in plastic so it has some roots. These are fresh cuttings, so this is where it was cut and this is the actual vine. I do love this though because it has 3 nodes, so it has a node here. This is a node right here. And oh, I think it has more than 4 nodes. Then it has another node right there. And then it has another node right there. So it gives me some hope. So if anything were to happen and these leaves were to die, there's still other growth points. So it was pretty cool. It was like it was a pack of 7 cuttings, Hoya cuttings, like mixed, with shipping included for $15, which was pretty good. But with these pretty nice big size cuttings. So I'm excited to kick off the cuttings for the year. They're super neat. The only one that really didn't fare very well was this guy. These leaves, I think they got a little too cold. So, because it's still kind of cold. But the base leaves are really great, and the rest of the vine is. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna be putting a few of these in leca. I'm gonna be putting some in pon. And I'm gonna be putting some just straight into like a Hoya substrate mix. And I wanted just to kind of see which ones would root a little bit better. They also gave me this Curtsii. So this is a Hoya Curtsii. Oh yes, how to root them. Yes, so that's why I'm gonna, a lot of the Hoyas that I personally have already are either just in water, are in pon, or are in leca. I think only like 2 or 3 of my Hoyas are actually in like soil, like a mix. Like my Carrii, this tall boy here, this tall guy is in a soil mix. Yes. These guys So these were one of those, this set here, this is a Summer Glory, and that is a Scindapsus officinalis. So these are some that got affected by us being sick and being away. But we gave them a good watering, and they're pushing out new leaves in the back. So they look pretty sad right now, but they're coming back. They're pushing out new leaves. So, but I didn't want to cut these leaves yet because they're still working. They're still working. So yeah, so not doing that. Oh, but for Valentine's Day, Brian got me this euphorbia. So this is the Euphorbia Dragon Bones Variegata. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful euphorbia. And we got it on Valentine's Day, and now it's starting to put out leaves. So this is an example of euphorbia leaves. So you could see those little leaves coming up right at the very tip. But yeah, I really love euphorbia. So those are euphorbia right next to it. This, I think the plant I have the most of around the house are euphorbia. So I really like them. I really, you know, folks, if you really like succulents, I think euphorbia are just, they're so interesting. I personally am so attracted to this group of plants. I constantly, if I see one and I don't have it, I need to have it. And they really need minimal care. I don't think any of my euphorbias has ever had pests. So they're just great. They're great. I love euphorbia. So I highly recommend euphorbia. Do I have grow lights for my euphorbia? Yeah. So I mean, like, so I have some euphorbia behind me. And so they're under the grow light. I have like the corn cob euphorbia. I have that. Oh, how many types of euphorbia do I have back here? I think 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 5, and then I have the 3 up there. But yeah, this is a euphorbia. This is called the corn cob variegata. So usually they come in green. But yeah, these pretty sharp. But these are also euphorbia. So yeah, I do have a couple just behind me that have the grow light, but the majority that I have do not have a grow light. So those behind me are the only ones that have grow lights. Everybody else are either by my windows. I have some in the kitchen, but again, they're just like by the window. So yeah. Ooh, euphorbia shantii cherry blossom. Ooh, I don't have that one. So now I need to look that up and see if I can order it. But yeah, if anyone finds any weird euphorbia, let me know, because that's definitely what I collect the most is euphorbia. I don't think I will ever get tired of euphorbia. That I've been collecting, and ripsalis. I collect a lot of ripsalis. But coming up pretty quick are kalanchoes. I am building a pretty big kalanchoe collection. Do have quite a few species of kalanchoe and quite a few species of chrysula. So I've realized that when I'm watering my plants, I'm like, I have a lot of chrysula and I have a lot of kalanchoes. So they're coming up. They're not far behind. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of aeroids as well. We have a lot of philodendrons and different types of like snake plants too. But yeah, definitely kalanchoes and chrysulas are coming up quickly behind the euphorbia and the ripsalis. But yeah, all right. But thank you so much, everyone. Oh, Kim, before I hop off, I'll answer Kim's question. Where can I buy these plants like the Hoya? We had one and it got hit with bugs several years ago, and I love the smell of the flowers. Yes, a lot of Hoyas, they produce some amazing flowers. Just know there are some flowers that really smell horrendous. So some Hoyas, the smell of the flowers are like cinnamon, or like the Hoya compacta. That one smells, to me, it smells like Tootsie Rolls. So a lot of folks say they smell like chocolate, but I think specifically it smells like Tootsie Rolls. And absolutely gorgeous. But there are other Hoyas where it smells really bad. So be mindful as to what species. I would definitely look it up. I can't think of the stinky ones right now. But there are some where you do not want the flower because it's not a good smell at all. But where to get them? So I get a lot of my plants either on Etsy. Etsy is a great place for private sellers. Another Facebook Marketplace I've been using a lot. I used to use eBay many years ago, but I stopped because I had a very bad experience with eBay where I bought a euphorbia. It was a euphorbia millii for $8. It said free shipping, and I thought, wow, this is really cheap. And so I ordered it. And it was weeks and this plant wasn't showing up. And one day, the plant does show up, and it's a crispy thing. It's like weeks now, and the poor thing is dead inside of the box. So I complain. And then I didn't realize where the plant came from. And so I got a letter that stuck to my mailbox from the Fish and Wildlife. And it turned out that they had shipped it from Indonesia. And I didn't know this. And so I was like, what? I didn't even pay attention, like, to where the dress was from. And so I had to speak to a Fish and Wildlife officer and explain that the plant arrived weeks later. And I showed them the listing, and I said, nowhere on the listing does it say that it's coming from Indonesia. I paid only $8. I can show you the receipt. So I definitely did not know it was being shipped internationally. And so when you order plants internationally, you're supposed to get a phytosanitary certificate. There's a whole process because the plant has to go through customs and all that jazz. And the plant did not follow the seller did not follow the proper protocols. And yeah, and so I mean the plant was dead, so there was no issue there, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay away from eBay. So be very careful if you're ordering from eBay. Really read the listing, and I would even suggest to speak to the sellers. So follow up with the seller and ask them where are they shipping from, because you can get in trouble. So if the plant had been alive, then they would have to confiscate it, because there's a risk of it bringing, like introducing pests or disease or things like that to our environment. So that's why they're very stringent with plants internationally. Thankfully, with Equigenera, which Brian and I have ordered from, they kind of do a bulk order where then you pre-order and then you pick up in a specified location, and they have pop-ups like all over the country now. So you kind of like pay like a portion of the overall shipping, and then everything's kind of checked by customs, and then you just go to the place they're having the pop-up and pick up your plants. So had a good experience with Equigenera. So I will say that. Yeah, Etsy. Yes, George. There are quite a few private sellers of plants on Etsy. A lot of cuttings very much so. I like Facebook Marketplace for cuttings. I also like Facebook Marketplace for air plants. Like during the summer months, a lot of folks will put $20 for 30 and I'm like, yes. And so because I love air plants. So yeah, and cuttings, and I love some people actually do surprise cuttings. So they'll take a picture to kind of show you what you will get, and you'll pay like a flat fee, so let's say $15, and then they'll send you 10 different plants. And so those are fun if you want to start propagating. And so yeah, so I've done those a couple times. And yeah, I like getting cuttings like now, as we're approaching spring and kind of starting plants off. So yeah. George, yes, I have the Urban Garden community group. Yes, and I'll share that. Let me get the where there we go. In terms of the old Society X one, no, they were supposed to shut down that page because I had set it up for our group when I was with Society X, and they kicked me out of that group. And they kept it. And so no, I don't run that old group. And yeah, they like locked me out. It's pretty nuts. The whole situation was pretty nuts. Because the whole thing is and I have emails to prove where I was told that they just wanted us to use their platform as just yet another place to share our information, so there was like a vet or something that was like doing pet classes and things like that. It was just supposed to be like a way to kind of for folks to know that we exist, and offer like free classes for the community. And that's how it was pitched. But then they changed it. And that now they were trying to claim that they owned all of the intellectual property, and that everything that we teach is theirs now and we can't teach it anywhere else and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, if that's my job, I can't stop doing my job. Like, right, like you're telling what the vet, he can never teach anyone else about animals. Like that doesn't make sense, things like that. So yes, exactly, Facebook drama. It's just so yeah, it's just very unfortunate, but yeah, but yeah, I have I'll definitely be putting out some more formal classes and things like that. I've been pretty between being sick and then having all of this to deal with, and then I became the executive director of Herbalists Without Borders, which is a international nonprofit, and it's been my mind has been very taxed, but yeah, I do hope to get a little bit more energy and start putting out a bunch of class content. So yeah, and I have to continue working on I have some like classes that I recorded that I have to edit, and also I have to continue on the houseplant book. So I have so much that's up in the air that hasn't been touched in a while. So hopefully putting that gotta get through that. But all right, but thank you so much everyone for tuning in. I hope that it was informative, and yeah, I hope you'll tune in next week. I'm gonna set all these guys up so I can show you then how I've set up a bunch of these different cuttings and what kind of substrates, because there's also even from my own plants pieces that had broken off. So I'm going to be propagating all of these this week. So I can do a whole kind of show and tell of just the different strategies I've kind of used in my propagating. So I can show you some fun stuff. Oh yes, and I found this. Where did I put it? And I'm gonna try to see if I can do something fun with it. Maybe find maybe some propagations or some moss, or something interesting with this. It's this really neat little glass. It's so cool. It's like a little glass tower. And I feel like I want to put mini plants in here. so I was thinking like putting some propagations, some little teeny tiny things. So yeah, I want to do something fun with this. So I'll keep you posted if I can put that to some interesting use. But yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope I'll see you next week. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I truly appreciate it.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye for now.